I had an idea. I wanted to shoot a spec spot, a 15-second spec spot that would follow a ball bearing flying through the air, smashing through 3 or 4 beer bottles, and then ultimately hitting and bouncing off of a can of Guinness Stout. In those days, Guinness Stout used to come in what they called an oil can, and the concept being seriously stout. I thought that was a solid concept, and I've had the idea for quite a while and been attempting over the years to get it done. It looks like now I might actually be able to do it. So in order to do this, I need to be able to shoot at like 1500 frames a second. So that's a serious piece of camera kit to get a hold of. Shout out to 444 Camera and Adrian especially for supporting me in doing this. Basically how they shoot high-speed ballistics for the military and scientific purposes. You know, when you see that shot of a tank round flying through the air and the camera's perfectly panning with it, basically they're using a mirror, a high-speed mirror. And that's basically what we're going to do, only our mirror only moves like 11 degrees because we're only going about 6 feet on the set. And then we've got a switch that when I push the switch, it fires the air cannon, which sends the ball bearing. 0.8 of a second later, that mirror rotates that 11 degrees in like that. So I've timed it out that I'm now able to follow the ball bearing through its flight path. There's also a ton of variables that are undetermined right now between the lighting kit that I've got behind me, which is a fair amount of light. It's just barely enough light because when you shoot high speed, there's all kind of different things to take into account. You usually want like 2K or better light because the amount of energy going into that, it doesn't have time to register the slight dimming at 60 hertz of tungsten lights. Because there's a lot of unknowns, so we're just gonna march right off into some uncharted territory and we'll see what works and what doesn't. So on here is going to go mirror, and that mirror is going to get pinned right here on the table. This pneumatic cylinder is going to drive that from this position to that position, 25 millimeters on an angle. There's a lever, so it's just going to be super quick. The camera will be looking into the mirror. The mirror will be panning across the scene at super high speed. So we're just working on putting these things together. So this little plate, basically go in there, get some holes. So air supply, solenoid valve. When it's energized, air pressure to the thing, and this is only a small amount of pressure, about 20 pounds. So let's see what that does. That's pretty quick. So we'll see if we can match the velocities by regulating the pressure, and also how much by choosing different holes. We can choose a little bit different angles, so that's just there to help fine tune. Okay, so there is one other elephant in the room, and that is that when the ball bearing's flying through the air and breaking through all the breakaway bottles, which that's not a problem, but they're all going to have fluid or simulated beer in this case. And as that ball bearing tries to smash through the bottles and go through all that liquid, how much does it slow down? Even if it does take a very straight trajectory and hits its mark, great. But the mirror, everything being set up and constant, would move at one speed through its travel. So if the ball bearing is slowing down, then how do we get the mirror to slow down as well? And I've tried a couple of things. I've got springs, I've got foam, I've got a retention spring on the one side and a compression spring on the other side. So we'll see if that does it. One other thing I did was to install underneath the block that swings that the mirror sits on is a small friction gradient, so that hopefully as it's moving it starts out at its full speed, but then as it gets to the end of its travel between the springs and the friction gradient, it will slow down at the end of its travel and hopefully still follow along with the ball bearing. So we'll see. shared this with you. It's kind of funny. This happened today. So this is the mirror I've been testing with. It's a front surface mirror, and it's one of the ones you can find on Amazon. And it came in this. And it had, to be fair, I cut it off just so I could use this to kind of put over the top of it. A little bit more than this in bubble wrap, probably twice as much, if not a little bit more. Put the camera here, look at my subject, and it's a little bit soft. If I turn the camera around and look directly at my subject, tack sharp. So something's not right with this front surface mirror. And I suspect it's in the manufacturing. This was about $35, I think is what it was. That being said, I went to a scientific optical company and got this, a sample for less than I paid for that, for $25. And it came in this box like this. So this is a 6x6 piece of glass. And it came wrapped like this. So let's have a look. So there we go. So now this, far more substantial, and I suspect that this will be a lot better performance than that. Because that you just get kind of the description of what to use it for. Oh, use it for experiments, use it for reflecting to your microscope, and this, that, and the other. So I have a feeling that's probably popular in high schools and for students and stuff. This, however, is a sample from a scientific optical company. And if you look at the website, there's specs for this thing, like its flatness, the nanometers that it reflects. It's just specs are over the top on it. So I expect that this will be the thing to use. So we'll get it mounted and we'll have a look, and we'll see. right, well, I guess that's it. I'd like to give a big shout out to 444 Camera for providing the high-speed camera, particularly to Adrian, and also to Electric Light and Power, who were overturning some of their stock and some of their inventory, and so I was able to pick up some lights from that. So big thanks to them as well. See you next time.